Let the world settle for a moment and imagine a land that breathes beneath your feet. Azeroth stretches before you like a living tapestry, pulled taut between ancient cosmic forces, light and void, life and death, each rising and falling like slow, eternal tides. The wars of alliance and horde are only ripples on its surface. The true story lies deeper in the quiet turning of celestial cycles few ever notice. So wherever you are, lying in bed or awake beneath the dim glow of midnight, let me guide you downward into the hidden pulse of this world. If you enjoy these journeys, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell me where you're listening from, what time it is, and the topics you'd love to explore. Your thoughts may guide our next adventure. To understand Azeroth, you must first step beyond the idea of kingdoms, armies, or the banners that rise and fall across its continents. Beneath every war, every prophecy, every tragedy whispered through its forests and battlefields, there lies a deeper architecture, a rhythm older than stars, older even than the titans who once shaped the world. Warcraft is not merely a saga of heroes and villains. It is the chronicle of a universe governed by 6 primordial forces, each pulling reality toward its own vision of truth. These forces form what scholars call the great cycle of cosmic forces, a wheel that never stops turning. Light and void form the first axis, absolute truth and endless possibility. Light seeks a single perfect path, a universe shaped into clarity. Void seeks infinite paths, every future, every contradiction, every shadow of what could be. When light becomes too powerful, it crystallizes reality into rigid stillness. When the void swells, it dissolves meaning into an ocean of overwhelming visions. Order and disorder, or arcane and fell, form the next axis, structure and entropy. Order builds systems, laws and precise patterns, mathematics carved into the bones of worlds. Disorder burns those structures down, consuming the future to empower the present. Where order becomes tyranny, fell becomes annihilation, yet without one, the other cannot exist. Finally, life and death define the most intimate axis, creation and conclusion. Life expands endlessly. Roots, spores, dreams, desires. Death gathers what life has shaped, sorting it into stillness and memory. When life grows unchecked, it smothers. When death tightens its grip, it stifles all becoming. Azeroth's history is not a straight line, but a pendulum, swinging between these 6 forces as they collide, merge, and recoil. Every event, the Sundering, the rise of the Scourge, the invasions of the Legion, can be traced to the tensions between these cosmic poles. Peace is never permanent, balance is never stable. This world breathes in cycles, and mortals move unknowingly along the tides. At the center of this cosmic tension lies Azeroth herself, the anomalous world soul. She is not a simple planet, but a being still unawakened, vast and radiant beneath the crust. Her presence bends the cosmic map around her. The Titans saw her as their greatest hope. The Void Lords saw her as the key to a universe swallowed in shadow. The forces of death recognized her as a pivotal soul, capable of rewriting their machinery. Even the light, quiet, and patient has fixed its gaze upon her potential. Azeroth absorbs what should shatter lesser worlds: void corruption, death magic, fell scars, yet she endures. She transforms. Something within her exceeds the classifications the Titans once used to describe their own kind, and because of that, She has become the final prize in a war older than creation. Within this framework, the people of Azeroth, kings, shamans, paladins, warlocks, are not the authors of destiny, but its interpreters. Their choices matter, but only within the narrow gap allowed by cosmic law. Warcraft's deepest truth is a gentle, haunting paradox. There are no pure heroes, no absolute villains, only mortals caught in the gravity of forces far greater than themselves. And yet, in the smallest of those choices, in the faintest assertion of will, lies the fragile spark that keeps the universe from collapsing into one truth or many. It is here, in this tension between the cosmic and the human, that Azeroth truly lives. When you lift your gaze beyond the tallest spires of Stormwind, beyond the frozen crowns of Northrend, and the drifting sands of Uldum, you begin to sense a truth that most mortals never notice. Azeroth is only a single grain of dust suspended in a vast, writhing tapestry of cosmic forces. Its sky, serene to the untrained eye, is stretched thin between 6 primordial powers, forces that existed long before the first dragon learned to breathe, long before the Titans sculpted mountains into form. These forces do not simply shape the universe, they negotiate its existence moment by moment. The scholars of the Kirin Tor call this structure the hexagonal dialectic, a cosmic geometry where every force is paired with its counterweight. Light and void form the first axis, perfect certainty against infinite contradiction. The light sees only one truth, a radiant path that leads the universe toward order. The void whispers of every path at once, realities branching endlessly like roots beneath the soil. To a mortal mind, the light feels comforting, the void feels overwhelming, but in truth, both are extremes that consume what they cannot control. The second axis, order and disorder, defines the architecture of worlds. Order carves ley lines into the stone, arranges magic into predictable shapes, and dreams of a universe that behaves. Disorder, expressed through fel, burns structure away in exchange for power. Together, they form the rhythm of creation and collapse, the heartbeat behind every Titan design and every demonic incursion. Finally, life and death form the most intimate axis. Life dreams in colors, in forests, in the breath of newborn worlds. Death catalogs what life creates, assigning purpose to endings and silence. These two are not enemies. They are custodians of a cycle that predates even the stars. Azeroth sits precariously among these forces, lodged deep within the great dark beyond, in a region the Titans once mapped, but never understood. It is a strangely resonant world, capable of harmonizing with arcane spirit and shadow in equal measure. This unusual harmony makes Azeroth a convergence point, a rare place where cosmic forces overlap rather than repel, and where forces overlap, conflict becomes inevitable. Across its continents, natural rifts and shimmering scars mark the places where these energies once collided, cracks in reality where void seeps through, fissures where veil once burned clean through the air, fault lines where the fabric between life and death thins, trembling like the surface of a dream. These scars are not random. They are the fingerprints of ancient battles fought long before mortals learned to record history. Surrounding the physical world are layers of metaphysical realms that press closely against Azeroth's surface. The void realms stretch outward like endless black oceans, whispering potential futures that never quite solidify. The twisting nether churns with chaotic fill currents, a highway of destruction used by the Burning Legion. The Shadowlands sit beneath everything, a silent engine that governs the passage of souls. In the Dream Mirror domain of life reflects what Azeroth could be, shaping its forests and creatures in fluid, living imagination. Azeroth exists where all these realms graze its surface, an intersection of cosmic intent, and because of that, its story was never going to be a simple one. To understand the Titans is to understand a kind of order that mortals rarely glimpse, a logic so immense, so architectural, that even mountains seem like careful strokes of intention. When the Pantheon first discovered Azeroth, a world soul shimmering with unusual potential, they did not simply cleanse it or claim it. They began to reshape it, chiseling purpose into the crust, the sky, and the dreaming layers beneath. What we now know as civilizations, continents, and wonders were in truth components of a vast cosmic apparatus. Their first and most formidable construct was Ulduar, a citadel of stone and starlight, resting in the frozen crown of Northrend. To mortal eyes, it is a fortress. To the Titans, it was a nerve center, a place designed to monitor the thoughts and rhythms of the sleeping world soul. Within it, the old god Yogg-Saron was imprisoned, layered in bindings that stretched into dimensions unseen, and deep inside the observatory, they placed Algalon, the celestial arbiter, whose sole purpose was to judge the stability of the planet. With a single command, the infamous Sigma Protocol, Algalon could wipe Azeroth clean and begin again. Ulduar was not built for mortals. It was built for emergencies only Titans could comprehend. Far to the south, beneath the relentless sun, the Titans constructed Uldum, a mechanism for erasure. Should the void gain a foothold too deep or too dangerous, Uldum's engine of origination could sterilize the entire surface of the planet in a surge of radiant fire. A reset button for life itself, cold, impartial, perfect in its function. It was not designed out of malice, but necessity. The Titans knew that if corruption spread too far, saving the world's soul would require sacrificing the world around it. Between these extremes lay the engine of Nalax-Ha, embedded in the tranquil valleys of Pandaria. Unlike Ulduar or Uldum, Nalax-Ha was not a weapon, but a regulator. It stabilized the planet's ley lines, guiding the flow of arcane energy so the world's soul could grow without being overwhelmed. It was a cosmic, peaceful instrument, yet still essential to the Titan's long-term design. If Ulduar was the brain and Uldum the blade, then Nalax-Ha was the heartbeat. To maintain this vast infrastructure, the Titans forged custodians. The Titan forged earthen to stabilize the land, mechanomes to maintain precision, watchers and keepers to interpret the Titan's commands. They were caretakers of a planet deemed high risk, for Azeroth contains something volatile, something far beyond the ordinary taxonomy of world souls. But even the Titans misjudged the scale of the danger. When a Manthil attempted to rip the old god Sharge from the planet, expecting a clean extraction, the result was catastrophic. The world cracked open. Arcane blood, raw, luminescent, impossibly powerful, poured forth like the essence of a wounded star. That wound became the well of eternity, and its consequences would echo through every age to come. In that moment, the Titans learned a humbling truth. Old gods cannot be removed without tearing the world's soul apart. From then on, containment, not cleansing, became their strategy, and Azeroth, forever scarred, continued to dream beneath the weight of their designs. If you trace your finger across the map of Azeroth, over its mountains, along its coasts, beneath its seas, you are not simply tracing geography. You are reading scars. Every ridge, every chasm, every continent torn away from another is the lingering memory of a catastrophe so vast that even the earth is not forgotten. Azeroth is not a world shaped by time alone. It is a world carved by trauma. The greatest of these wounds began with the Sundering, an explosion of arcane force so absolute it split the primeval supercontinent into the shapes we know today. Once, all land was one, an immense cradle circling the well of eternity. But when the Highborn's reckless manipulation of magic drew the burning legion into the world, the collapsing well erupted. The explosion shattered the continent like a glass sphere hurled into the ocean. From its remains rose Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdoms, Northrend, and Pandaria, each drifting away as if torn by celestial tides. In the center of the void left behind churns the maelstrom, a spiraling wound of arcane energy that never fully sealed. Its roar is the voice of the Sundering echoing across millennia, a memory of the world's near death, and in its perpetual storm lie fractures where ley lines twist and collide like exposed nerves still crackling with pain. The Sundering did not merely rearrange land, it rearranged history. The Night Elves, once stewards of arcane might, withdrew into nature's embrace, abandoning their glittering empire. The Highborn were split apart, some cast out, others reforged into High Elves or transformed into the arcane-bound Nightborn. Entire civilizations were exiled into new eras, as if the world itself had rewritten their destinies. Yet even this cataclysm pales compared to the wound delivered during the Legion's final assault. In the desert of Silithus, the Titan Sargeras plunged his colossal blade into the planet, not as a strike of conquest, but as a desperate, wrathful gesture meant to claim Azeroth's world soul. The sword embedded deep into the crust, poisoning earth and ley line alike. The land around the impact site became a dead point, a place where life twisted unnaturally and arcane currents buckled beneath the weight of Fel. But the true strangeness is what the wound became afterward, a column of resonance, a beacon that pulls void whispers toward it, warps Titan machinery across the globe, and disrupts every cosmic balance touching the planet. Some scholars whisper that the blade functions like an anchor, holding Azeroth in place, preventing her awakening, or perhaps delaying a transformation the cosmos is not yet ready for. Even now, Silithus does not heal. Creatures of death wander more freely. Shadows pool where none should form. The wound behaves less like a scar and more like an open door. And so, when you look upon Azeroth's landscapes, fractured continents, swirling vortices, deserts pierced by celestial steel, remember this: you are walking across the aftermath of battles too vast for mortal memory. The world beneath you is alive, dreaming, and wounded, and every corner of its geography whispers the stories of what it has survived. When you look upon Azeroth from a distance, from the cold stars, from the drifting paths of the Titans, you do not see borders, nations, or flags fluttering above castles and encampments. You see something simpler, older, almost primordial. Two patterns of survival, shaped not by politics, but by fear, memory, and the long shadows cast by cosmic forces. Mortals call them the Alliance and the Horde, but the universe recognizes them as two instincts: order seeking stability and chaos seeking belonging. The Alliance embodies the first instinct: order, tradition, and the weight of legacy. Its kingdoms were not built merely to house people, but to maintain a vision of what the world should be. Stone walls, sacred texts, knightly oaths. These are not decorations. They are defenses against uncertainty. The Alliance believes that a predictable world is a safer world, and so its values reflect echoes of Titan philosophy: structure, continuity, and reverence for what came before. They honor laws because laws bind chaos. They honor lineage because lineage anchors identity. Then they honor the light not only as a source of magic, but as the moral compass that allows their world to make sense. Yet this devotion to order has a price. The Alliance often acts as a keeper of memory, but memory can harden into rigidity. It adapts slowly, hesitantly, as though afraid that change itself might crack the foundations of its carefully tended legacy. Its handling of foreign races, its suspicion of difference, reveals a truth whispered behind closed doors. The Alliance values unity, but not always diversity. And when crises arise, like the Scourge or the Legion, the Alliance hesitates, seeking the right answer rather than the necessary one. Across the world, the Horde represents the opposite instinct: survival, trauma, and the search for identity. The Horde is not a civilization born from comfort. It is a coalition born from exile, orcs fleeing a corrupted homeworld, trolls cast out by empire after empire, Tauren wandering plains marked by endless conflict, Forsaken grappling with death's cold inheritance, goblins escaping the greed of their own kind. These peoples did not find one another by chance. They were drawn together by their shared history of loss. Their strength lies in merit. Their unity lies in shared wounds. Their identity lies in the belief that a future can be built from the ruins of their past. But trauma, too, has a price. The Horde carries within it a dual heartbeat, one echoing Thrall's dream of peace, and another born from the fell-tainted fury that once dominated its early years. This contradiction makes the Horde powerful, but also unstable. Under leaders who embrace rage, Garrosh, Sylvanas, the Horde fractures, pulled apart by visions too extreme to coexist. And so, Azeroth's great bipolarity persists. One faction fights to protect the world it remembers. The other fights to carve a world where it belongs. Neither is wholly right. Neither is wholly wrong. Together, they form a tension that has shaped every age of Azeroth's history. For in a world caught between cosmic forces, even mortal alliances are reflections of deeper, older truths, echoes of order and disorder, repeating themselves in the hearts of those who walk the earth. Between the banners of the Alliance and the drums of the Horde lies a quiet expanse of power, an entire spectrum of forces that do not pledge allegiance to mortal kingdoms. These are the factions that exist above borders, beneath history, or outside the concerns of nations altogether. Their agendas shape Azeroth as deeply as any war, yet they operate in shadows, libraries, cosmic vaults, and the dreaming layers of the world. To understand Azeroth, you must understand those who move between the lines. The first of these is the Quran Tor, a megocracy whose loyalty is given not to crowns, but to knowledge. Dalaran, their floating sanctuary, drifts through the sky like a continent that has abandoned the earth. Within its violet halls, mages study the laws of arcane, not as a weapon, but as a language the universe uses to speak. For them, borders are irrelevant. Truth is their nation, When conflicts arise between alliance and horde, the Kirin Tor often act as intermediaries, not out of political obligation, but because arcane imbalance threatens everyone. They understand that magic is older than war and far less forgiving. Beyond even the reach of Dalaran stand the Titans and their Titan-forged creations, silent architects of Azeroth's deeper systems. Where mortals see deserts, mountains, and ruins, the Titans see circuits, engraved ley lines, harmonic structures, and functions carried out by constructs shaped from stone and metal. The earthens stabilize the land, the mechanomes maintain precision, the Watchers interpret ancient commands left behind by a pantheon long absent. Though the Titans do not intervene openly, their infrastructure underpins the entire planet. Mortals build kingdoms. Titans build the foundation on which kingdoms can exist. In contrast, the Naru and the Lightbound reveal the radiant face of a force often misunderstood. To many, the light is synonymous with kindness, but the Naru remind us that light, when absolute, can become a cage disguised as salvation. Eeril's Lightbound on the alternate Draenor show what happens when one truth grows too bright. Divergence becomes heresy, choice becomes error, and redemption becomes a demand rather than a gift. Their presence whispers a quiet warning. Even purity has a shadow. Opposite them stand the void entities and old gods who do not build civilizations, but unravel them from within. Their whispers contain fragments of truth, just enough to convince, never enough to clarify. They fracture societies not through armies, but through doubt, paranoia, and visions of futures that contradict themselves. Even bound beneath the earth, the old gods reach upward through dreams, arcane distortions, and death's echoes. Their prisons may hold their bodies, but never their influence. And then, soaring far above politics, glide the dragonflights, the living reflections of Azeroth's will. Each flight embodies an aspect of the planet, time's flow, nature's dream, magic's pulse, Earth's stability, life's spark. They are guardians, not rulers. Their allegiance is to the world's soul itself, not to any mortal faction. When dragons move, they move with purpose, steering history, correcting imbalances, or shielding Azeroth from forces that mortals cannot perceive. These neutral, ancient, and supernatural factions cannot be led, conquered, or absorbed. They stand apart because Azeroth needs them to. They are the subtle gears in a cosmic engine, turning quietly, endlessly, shaping the destiny of a world that often forgets how fragile it truly is. Across Azeroth's history, armies rise, kingdoms fall, and factions clash beneath banners that change with each generation. Yet beneath these shifting tides lies something far more enduring, the archetypes through which mortals confront the overwhelming pressures of a cosmic battlefield. These patterns repeat again and again, not because the world fails to learn, but because sentient beings respond to fear, responsibility, and destiny in ways that echo through time. Each great figure of Azeroth is not just a character, but a reflection of how mortals try to survive in a universe ruled by forces older than memory. The first of these is Arthas Menethil, the downfall of idealism, a prince who believed salvation justified any cost. His story begins with mercy, with love for his people, and with a desperate desire to protect them. But in Stratholme, when the plague had already taken root and hope seemed lost, Arthas made a choice that carved the first fracture in his soul. That moment, culling his own citizens to save the living, did not turn him evil, but it unmoored him from the moral ground he once stood upon. Frostmourne merely completed what desperation began. The blade did not tempt him with power, it offered certainty. Then so Arthas surrendered his will, trading human grief for death's cold logic. His archetype is the tragic reminder that even the purest intentions, when isolated from compassion, can rot into monstrosity. In stark contrast stands Illidan's Stormrage, the rebel against destiny. Where Arthas submitted, Illidan resisted. His entire life is an argument against inevitability, against prophecy, against divine plans, against cosmic determinism. He consumed fell, but refused to be consumed by it, a paradox sustained only by relentless will. To some, he is villain, to others reluctant savior, but Illidan is above all an embodiment of the mortal spirit that refuses to be categorized by light, void, or titan decree. His archetype is the pragmatist who understands that survival sometimes requires breaking the rules of the universe itself. Then there is Xal'atath, the psychological villain, a whisper shaped into a woman's silhouette. She does not conquer with armies or curses, but with insinuation. She deals not in lies, but in half-truths, each one a splinter that opens fissures in the minds that listen. Xal'atath thrives in doubt, in insecurity, in the small cracks where certainty collapses. She represents a new breed of antagonist, one who does not seek to rule Azeroth, but to transform it by reshaping the thoughts of those who hold power. In her presence, the battlefield becomes internal. On the opposite side of the emotional spectrum stand Undren Wrynn, the wounded healer. His scars are not physical, but spiritual. After being dominated by the jailer, Anduin's struggle is not about reclaiming the light. It is about believing he is worthy of wielding it again. His arc is quiet, introspective, and painfully human. He embodies the archetype of the reluctant leader, one whose greatest challenge is forgiving himself. Finally, there is Thrall, the leader who stepped away, torn between two identities, the human-raised shaman and the heir of orcish tradition. Years of carrying the horde on his shoulders left him exhausted, not physically, but spiritually. Thrall's retreat from leadership is not cowardice. It is the inevitable consequence of compassion stretched too thin. His archetype reflects the burden of those who lead out of duty rather than desire. Together, these figures reveal a truth often overlooked. Azeroth is shaped not only by cosmic forces, but by the fragile, repeating patterns of the mortals who struggle beneath them. If you listen closely, not with your ears, but with that quiet sense that lingers beneath thought, you can almost feel the universe breathing. It is not the soft inhale and exhale of living creatures, but a vast cosmic rhythm, expansion, collapse, balance, and disruption. Azeroth does not exist outside this rhythm. It exists because of it. Every age of peace, every eruption of war, every strange omen drifting through the sky is part of a cycle as old as creation itself. This cycle begins with order, the shaping force. When order prevails, the universe settles into patterns, stars form predictable arcs, magic flows through ley lines like disciplined rivers, life emerges according to harmonious design. But order, left unchecked, becomes brittle, so rigid that it cannot bend without breaking. From that rigidity rises disorder, expressed most violently through feel. Disorder is not evil. It is the necessary dismantling of structures that have grown too strict to sustain life. Yet its fire burns indiscriminately, worlds reduced to ash, civilizations shattered in moments. In the wake of Fel's chaos, the universe becomes vulnerable to whispers that seep through the cracks. Into that void, quite literally, comes the void itself, pushing through weakened boundaries. The void does not conquer with armies. It infiltrates with possibility, with futures layered upon futures, until meaning dissolves. Societies fracture under competing visions of truth, and even the bravest minds falter beneath the weight of infinite what-ifs. When void intrusion reaches its peak, reality must reset, and so arrives death, not as villain, but as mechanism. Death clarifies, death simplifies. It reduces what has become tangled and chaotic into ordered silence. Shadowlands, more than a realm of the dead, is a cosmic archive, a sorting room where the remnants of countless cycles are cataloged and placed. In moments of catastrophic imbalance, death intervenes not to punish, but to reset. From that reset emerges order once more, setting the cycle in motion again. A universe rebuilt from the ashes of its own contradictions. There has never been such a thing as permanent peace. There has only been intervals, breaths between the shifts, moments when all six forces weaken just enough for life to flourish. Mortals call these golden ages. Scholars call them equilibrium, but in truth, they are the calm before storms, so old that even titans treat them with caution. Azeroth's role within this vast cycle is uniquely precarious. It is not simply a world affected by cosmic tides. It is a convergence point, a place where the six forces overlap more intensely than anywhere else known. This makes Azeroth a magnet for upheaval. Every cosmic disturbance, legion invasions, void manifestations, death's expansions, gravitates toward it as if drawn by unseen gravity. The world's soul, slumbering within Azeroth, amplifies this pull. As she matures, her awakening becomes an event that could reshape the cosmic cycle entirely. Titans fear she may become the greatest champion of order. Void lords hope she might fall into shadow and bloom into a dark titan. Death sees her as a soul of extraordinary potential. Life views her as a seed capable of rewriting creation itself. Thus, every era of Azeroth, the rise and fall of empires, the tragedies of heroes, the clash of factions, is but a fragment of a much larger pulse. The universe breathes, and Azeroth, whether ready or not, breathes with it. When mortals speak of light or void, order or fel, they often imagine spells, bursts of radiance, shadows twisting through air, flames devouring the sky. But these forces are not mere magics. They are philosophies woven into the structure of reality, each one following a logic so vast that even the greatest heroes of Azeroth barely comprehend the rules they are living under. And this, perhaps, is the quiet tragedy of the world. Civilizations rise and fall, not because they failed politically or militarily, but because they unknowingly drift too close to the logic of a single cosmic force. The light, for all its beauty, is governed by the tyranny of one truth. To the light, there is a singular path forward, pure, unwavering, and absolute. Anything outside that path becomes error, deviance, corruption. When embraced gently, the light can heal, uplift, and illuminate. But when taken to its extreme, It demands uniformity. It rescues by reformatting. It purifies by overwriting. The light-bound of alternate Draenor are the clearest example. Smiling missionaries one day, zealous conquerors the next. They did not believe they were oppressors. They believed they were saving everyone from themselves. That is the danger of the light. When one truth becomes the only truth, freedom dissolves. Opposite the light stands the void, not as darkness, but as the madness of infinite possibilities. The void does not lie. It reveals too much. Every future is true. Every contradiction is valid for a mortal mind built to choose. This is unbearable. The void's whispers do not command. They overwhelm, they fracture will, drown intuition, and feed on uncertainty until belief itself collapses. Where the light crystallizes the world into one meaning, the void dissolves it into countless meanings. Both extremes destroy the self, but in profoundly different ways. Between these poles lies death, a force governed by stillness and structure. Death believes in order, but not the creative order of arcane, rather the finality of classification. Souls must move through designated cycles, be sorted, assigned, filtered. Freedom is inefficiency. Variance is corruption. Under the jailer's influence, the Shadowlands showed what happens when death becomes absolute. Individuality is stripped away, leaving only function. Death does not hate the living. It simply believes the living are chaotic. Then comes Fel, the roaring flame of disorder, tempting, immediate, catastrophic. Fel consumes the future to empower the present. It is irresistible to those who desire quick strength, intoxicating to those who feel powerless. But its price is always the same: collapse. Worlds burn, societies implode. Draenor stands as a testament to what happens when power is taken faster than responsibility can follow. Fel is not evil. It is acceleration without direction. Finally, there is arcane, the domain of order, and the oldest illusion of all, that perfection is possible. Arcane seeks harmony, predictability, symmetry. It reshapes chaos into spiraling ley lines and carefully sculpted forms. But when order becomes too perfect, too complete, it suffocates life's ability to grow in unexpected ways. Titan ordering, for all its grandeur, is ultimately a vision of a universe in chains. Everything in its box, every soul in its place, every system designed to resist change. These laws do not merely shape magic, they shape destiny, and mortals, unknowingly, walk paths carved by cosmic logic long before they were born. History books speak of kings and queens, wars and victories, nations rising and falling across the face of Azeroth. But these chronicles capture only the surface, the human scale of time. When viewed from the cosmic vantage point, Azeroth's story is not divided by rulers or empires, but by which cosmic force holds dominion. Each era is a shadow cast by a different power. Void, order, arcane, Fel, death, or the fragile harmony between them. The earliest of these ages is the Black Empire, when the void was ascendant and the old gods ruled with a grip that reached not for bodies, but for minds. Under their influence, the world was suffocated beneath cities of flesh and nightmares, organic labyrinths, pulsing with whispers that offered endless truths. There was no free will, only servitude to a chorus of contradictory voices. To live in the Black Empire was to drown in meaninglessness, forced to obey beings who understood sanity only as a prison. Order arrived with the Titans, beginning the Age of Ordering, a period of cosmic reconstruction. With methodical precision, the Pantheon reshaped Azeroth's crust, carving ley lines through the land and embedding colossal engines beneath mountains and deserts. The Titan-forged, earthen mechagnomes watchers served as living instruments of this planetary surgery. Their mandate was not to rule, but to stabilize. Yet even the Titans could not cleanse the world completely. The void could be buried, but not destroyed, and the cosmic cycle moved onward, bearing the scars of both forces. The next great era came not from the stars, but from the heart of Azeroth itself, the age of arcane rupture, marked by the sundering. The well of eternity exploded in a cataclysmic bloom of arcane power, fracturing the single supercontinent into the pieces we know today. Night Elven civilization collapsed into myth, swallowed by oceans, and the arcane, though wounded, did not fade. Instead, it grew wild, volatile, harder to harness. It was an age defined by magic unbound and by the fragility of those who sought to wield it. Then the cosmic cycle swung toward disorder, ushering in the Legion era, when Fel surged across the cosmos like green wildfire. The Burning Legion sought annihilation as prevention, destroying worlds to ensure the void could never corrupt a nascent dark titan. Countless realms, from Argus to Draenor, were broken into cinders as collateral damage. Fel power offered strength unmatched, but it consumed its wielders, leaving only ruin behind. For a time, it seemed as though disorder would immolate the entire cycle, but Fel's collapse opened the door for the Scourge era, when death rose unnaturally to claim center stage. Arthas, the Lich King, turned the passage of souls into a political weapon. Death no longer served balance. It served domination. The veil between the living and the dead thinned, and the Shadowlands heaved under the strain of a system used for conquest rather than transition. The boundary between existence and oblivion blurred. Now, Azeroth enters the World Soul Saga, the Convergence, an era unlike any before. For the first time, all cosmic forces move toward the same focal point, a world soul awakening beneath the surface. Void gathers in midnight. Titans march toward their last directive. Death ripples through Anduin's lingering trauma. Life stirs through Elun's guiding hand. Disorder, through Illidan's legacy, remains the unpredictable wildcard. This is not merely a new chapter. It is the axis upon which the next cycle may turn. Azeroth stands not as a witness, but as the decision itself. Take a slow, steady breath and imagine yourself standing at the very edge of the world, where sky and stone meet in a silence older than kingdoms. The air is cool, touched by the faintest scent of arcane dust, the remnants of ancient battles whispered away by time. As you inhale, picture your feet pressing gently into the earth and feel how the ground seems to rise just slightly to meet you, as though the planet itself is breathing beneath your weight. Inhale. Picture yourself stepping onto the surface of Azeroth, where every layer of soil and stone carries the stories of titans and old gods like ancient heartbeats. Let your imagination trace the veins of the land, molten rivers, forged during the ordering cliffs, torn open by the sundering, deserts, scorched by the collapse of entire civilizations. Beneath you, these memories settle and shift, quiet, heavy, endless. You are standing on a world that remembers everything, and it welcomes you gently as another small presence upon its skin. Now hold that breath for a moment. Hold, keep it there, and sense just beneath your feet the slumbering contour of a world soul so vast that every war ever fought is nothing more than a scratch upon its surface. The silence deepens. You begin to feel, not hear, but feel, the resonance of something enormous, a heartbeat, slow and patient, echoing from deep within the mantle. Not a sound, but a vibration, a pulse older than the continents, humming through bones and earth and the drifting ley lines that knit them together. This is Azeroth dreaming, and in that dream, the cosmic forces draw close. Light presses gently at the edges of your awareness, a soft radiance offering a single clear path. Void curls like ink at the borders of thought, whispering 1,000 possible futures. Fell flickers like an ember behind your ribs, dangerous, intoxicating, warm, and somewhere far away, but never absent, death balances the scales with a calm, still rhythm. You do not belong to any of these forces, but in this moment, each one acknowledges your presence. Now release your breath, slowly exhale. Let the whisper of the void, the hymns of the light, and the heartbeat of life and death settle into one quiet harmony, a cosmic song you can only hear when you allow yourself to be still. As the breath leaves your body, the world seems to widen, time stretches, distance softens, the boundary between yourself and the landscape dissolves into something gentle and luminous. The stars wheel slowly above you, the ground hums beneath you, and for a moment everything in between becomes simple and peaceful. This is Azeroth, as it truly is, not the stage of endless conflict, but a living vessel suspended in the grand rhythm of the cosmos, a world dreaming through ages, gathering its strength, waiting for the moment it will finally awaken. Stay here as long as you like, on this threshold between breath and silence, between world and world soul. There is nothing to do, nothing to fear, only the slow, eternal pulse of a planet that has carried life, death, and destiny for longer than mortals have words to describe. And when you are ready, let your breathing return to the quiet, natural rhythm of your own body, while the great rhythm of Azeroth continues beneath it, steady and ancient, holding you gently in the dark. is not a tale of factions at war, but a quiet epic about balance, about how every hero, every villain, every broken soul is shaped by forces far older than themselves. In a universe where light can become tyranny, void can speak truth, and death can offer mercy, nothing is ever absolute. Thank you for wandering with me through the deeper layers of Azeroth, where history is carved not in blood, but in ancient currents of cosmic intent. Sleep gently in a world where even destiny bows before the rhythm of the universe.